COVID-19 appraisal. It's the 5th of August 2020. You're very welcome back. It would be out of order of me not to deal with the COVID-19 thing and give an opinion on it. It is probably one of the biggest events to occur in the lifetime of most people. So it's COVID-19, 19I. That's an I there. That's an I, okay? So what I try to do and what I've based my channel on is that of assessing and counting. And one of the things about counting is things are very rarely simple. If we take, let's say, the River Shannon somewhere along a narrow stretch, and this guy is rowing a boat, right? And he's rowing, he's in the boat, the water is flowing down south, and he wants to get up north. He has to row harder because there are more than two locations. His aim may be to get from point A upriver 10 miles to point B and land ashore. So it's 10 miles or whatever kilometres it is by land. So those 2 points don't change. His boat doesn't change. It's the same size when he leaves as when he arrives. But there is another factor. There is water flowing over the land on the riverbed and it's moving downwards. And so if it's moving downwards at 3 miles an hour, he has to row 3 miles an hour to stand still. I think you understand that concept. Now, it's to get this idea of more than one reference frame. Einstein dealt with this in a big way. Now, if there's a sail on the boat, you see a little sail I have put on it here. If there's a sail on the boat, you have another dynamic. You have the wind. You have the air flowing over it. And if the wind is blowing downstream and he puts up a sail, it'll blow him, boat, water and all will be blown down. He'll never overcome all of that. If on the other hand the wind is coming from the south and blowing against the current, the sail will help to give him a little bit of a boost. It might increase the speed by a couple of miles per hour. So that would be a big if, of course, and the sail can be adjusted. But I'm just giving you the point that there's now another dynamic. There's the air, which flows one way. There's the water, which flows another. There's the land, which he wants to get from A to B. And there's him and the boat and his means to achieve it. And so you have his means to row like blazes, put up his sail, assess the wind. You have the environment he's in, the movement of all those things to allow him to achieve his goal is to get 10 miles up. And if the wind is blowing straight south and he's going north and the flood is going south, he's going to want a good engine, or he's going to want to row very, very hard. I think you get that concept that very rarely is everything as simple as it seems. And in the case of inflation, that's where they print a lot of money. You have this point where you could be getting a rise of pay like in the 70s in Ireland for years, and the money value is going down by 20%, and so you're just standing still. And that's very important to understand, and I give the thing there, your aims, your means to achieve it, and your environment. They're good pointers for setting goals. Anyway, I'll move on. So what is man? What is man? Man and fruit bats are mammals. They have the very same system, just because they can fly around. Fruit bats don't have wings, they have skin, but they have mammary glands, they breed the same, they gestate, they give birth, they do all that the very same. And there was a report in the Sunday Times a couple of weeks ago. I'm not saying it's right, but it's generally accepted this is what happened. And in this report, they looked at where it started, and there's investigations into this. But one report said that there was a cave, and it was full of the droppings of fruit bats, which were hanging out of the cave, and their droppings were falling down. Now remember, birds only do one form of excrement, but mammals do urine and they defecate. So this fell down and built up, and they went in to take it out, maybe for fertilizer, maybe to see was the prehistoric evidence there. Whatever reason they went in anyway. And this is the report said. And within a week, 2 of them were dead. The virus was in the manure. Now that may be right or may be wrong, but what the report then said was the Chinese did what you'd expect them to do. They went down to the cave and they took samples away and brought them to their specialist lab, which is in Wuhan. We all know about that, we're hearing about that every day. And that happened in 2012. In 2012. So everything was all right from 2012 onwards, and they were doing experiments. Now, there's an issue where they're trying to mutate it, where they're trying to use it as a weapon. They certainly admit they were trying to make a vaccine for it. There's no doubt about that. And don't forget, they were trying to get a vaccine for this for 5-6 years, and they failed. And they're still speaking to the world. I mean, there's a lady that works in that laboratory, and she says she's allowed to say what she wishes. You know, I know the Chinese are the Chinese and all that, but this is what she says. I'm just adjusting my camera a little bit here. No, so anyway, according to this article, they brought it over and they were experimenting on it, and about 2019 it got out. And I don't think anyone believes the Chinese deliberately let it out. There was no reason. Okay, they had the Hong Kong situation. That was the only reason, but this would be to do this and to devastate their own economy. I don't think they did. I think everyone agrees. It got out somewhere. And then there's another school of thought that says it just came from wet markets, where they treat these bats and keep them alive until somebody buys them in terrible conditions. My God, it's awful. And then they kill them there and then, and that the virus escalated, and when people ate the bats, they got infected. Look, it doesn't really matter at this stage. Now, it has and it will kill some people. There is no doubt. And I want to just show you an article here in the Financial Times. I was in the shop at Kingscourt yesterday, and I don't buy the Financial Times every day, but I was sitting there and I just bought it, and I just see this in it. And this reflects what Boris Johnson said, the British Prime Minister, and it reflects what several people have said online on Facebook and all that. Generally speaking, they say they wouldn't wish it on their worst enemy. Now, it's obvious. You can get the virus and you don't know you have it. It might give you a runny nose. It's also obvious that the Irish government are not testing its population. Why aren't they coming around to all of us and asking us to be tested and giving us free test, or even let us pay for the test? So why aren't they letting us do that? So they're not doing that, and it could be that there's 1 million people infected in Ireland. We don't know. But the thing is that some people get it and some die. And I certainly know a few people who died. Most old age, most had underlying ailments, but people died, and that's a fact. I know 5 that died from it. And now they'll say, oh, you don't die of COVID-19. Well, you die anyway. That's all I know. But what we do know is, and what I'm reasonably sure of, is that when I was about 18, I caught an awful dose of something, and it was very sick. I lost my sense of smell. I could smell wire sauce at 40 yards. My sense of smell got all distorted. And I went off smoking that time. I used to smoke senior service, and I had fatigue. I had all of the things. I had diarrhea, I had everything, and I can know what it is. I went through that, and it's surely nearly 40 years ago now, but I went through that. And so these reports ring a bell with me. This is what's coming for a certain amount to get it. So you have maybe 1 in 1,000, 2 in 1,000 who will die. You have maybe there could be 8 in 1,000, there could be 80 in 1,000 who will get the symptoms bad. The rest are okay, but it's this fear of getting this disease that would scare me. So we have some will die. Now the article in this paper here is by this paper here. It's not easy reading. It was genuine. It's only yesterday's paper. It's a person called Lyt Le Hissamith. It's a strange name, but it's a man. He's white coloured. He has a beard, and he's 26-year-old, and he caught it. And he reports being laid up for 2 months, and 1 month he couldn't get out of the bed. An awful stomach upset and a terrible, terrible suffering. And this is a feature of it. And this is what I want to dwell on, what makes me believe the way I do, because people expect me to be against the government in everything. I want to look at the virus, not the government. And this is a feature that any of us could get, and I believe it's possible I could catch it. You can imagine a farmer. I couldn't even get my family to help me because they'd get infected. How am I going to go on? I mean, it is scary. It is really, really, really scary. So what many people have said, they wouldn't wish it on the worst enemy, and we know Boris Johnson got it. Yet, there's a lot of people out there say the whole thing's over the top. It's only a cod. We see riots in America. We see all that. And there's a very big school of thought which says we all will have to get it. that it will have to, it's better let it in and let it run its course. Not so easy to do when you're employing medical staff, and certainly they weren't set up for it in the beginning. They weren't able to get masks or anything. But now that there's a bit of preparation, there is that school of thought that it'll never be got rid of. Now, I'm just giving it as I know. A lot of doctors have died. A lot of famous people have died. They're dying still. Dying not too old either. And but there's no Central Statistics Office figures. I was on to them till the 28th of November. It'll be the 28th of November when the Central Statistics Office publishes its deaths figures. However, there was a person on Facebook did get a freedom of information, and what they found is the deaths are down. I think we'll find that the deaths are down for the first 6 months of this year over previous periods. I'm not using a microphone, so I'm going to talk a little louder and come up a bit closer. The deaths are down. I think we'll see Irish deaths down, but there is a lot of deaths. And then again, you can't say what the preventative measures are doing. And you have to take deaths off the road and the fact that people are living a totally different lifestyle and maybe not exposed to such danger. And this is the other issue that people will say, well, if you can stop COVID-19 and stop deaths by this shutdown, why don't you stop traffic on the roads altogether? Ban cars and lorries. You'd save all these hundreds of deaths every year. And this is the dilemma that's facing us. But anyway, so that's a situation. Then there are those who say, oh, more die of hunger, more die of the flu every year. I believe they don't die in Ireland. I did not see this massive cull of people due to the flu over the years of my lifetime. I did not see it. In actual fact, it's said that in the Great Flu here in the northeast, only one person died over in Marhercloon. Only one lady died of it. But it's not to say that so many die of the flu worldwide and therefore we must just take it on board. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. There's 9 billion of a population in the world. 9 billion. And, there's all types of things. They all have their own story to tell. And then again, even in the figures that they quote is so many per thousand, it doesn't include those who recovered and suffered this sickness. Just to show you the printer again here, the leaflet. It's a month in bed and a month getting better, and you're infectious to your family for a while, and you'll have fatigue maybe for a year. Severe fatigue. It's very debilitating. Now, so the severe system failure and the severe diarrhea, and the taste and smell goes, and that correlates with what I found. So that's it. I think I was 18 when I caught some kind of a dose. I don't know what it was. I didn't isolate and I didn't infect anybody else. So that's the thing. Now, a lot of people die of hunger in the world. A lot of people die of hunger. And so you can make all these statistics up, but they don't die of hunger here in Ireland. And this idea that if the narrative doesn't suit you in Ireland, you have to move globally. You have to go to where there's famine and all this, and then say, oh, well, you have to go the same. And this is the globalist, socialist way of thinking. You couple the whole population of the world in, and if you're doing well in your little corner and you have your society the way you want it, well, you must destroy it and become like the rest. And this is the left wing, right wing divide. So now the other thing is that disaster does not pick or choose who it hits. It doesn't pick or choose who it hits. There's earthquakes in Pakistan where people are poor. There's earthquakes in California where people are poor. And the other thing is we have mass travel and mass media. And of course the other side is not allowed to be heard. I believe RT and all these should allow the other opinion to be given and let the people decide. No, it's suppressed. So a lot of people say, and I agree, they should have stopped people from travelling a lot earlier. They should have stopped it a lot earlier. Back maybe in February. This virus was out about October. It was certainly out and well known about in October and coming into Christmas. And the British election was in December 2019 and the Irish one was on the 8th of February 2020. There wasn't a word about it. All we were getting was climate change, climate change, climate change, climate change, ad infinitum, never stopped. And that climate change thing, I believe, is simply a propaganda vacuum. There's no, religion has died out a bit, and there's no other thing to scare them. So they come up with this. The human race always has to be scared, or there has to be a section of them always scared. So reality now strikes. Reality strikes. And they may get it wrong, but the virus is real. Now that doesn't mean that our government, our present crowd, can't act. They had to act, in my view, for a while anyway. And they will get things wrong, and we know they'll sell us out to lobbyists, and there'll be those who will make money out of it. But they had to do something in conjunction with the rest of the world, because I believe, and I know a lot of people watching me will not agree, I don't want this. I don't want this on you. I don't want this on older young people. We can do damn well without the COVID-19 virus, although lots of people say we'll eventually get it anyway. But at least if we get it, we might have some controlled way of getting it, spread it out a bit over time, flatten the curve. I think that was sensible. Now, so then the other question is, will the cure be worse than the disease? It puts us in a terrible situation. Will the cure be worse than the disease? And this is another big issue. Sweden did not shut down the same way as Ireland did. And it's getting on all right now. They're having the economic impact because people are still afraid to go out in Sweden. And they're still not great there, but they didn't shut down the way we did. So what I would have done if I were the government, if I was the Taoiseach, what I would have done, I wouldn't have shut down so long. I would have regionally all right, and I've got the thing under control, and then I'd have released it a bit and let the pubs and that open. But I would have done a solemn deal with the Irish people. I would have said, look, we want to let you back, we want to give you a go, but we're pleading with you to agree to certain restrictions. And even the doubters might well agree to certain things, like in a public house to stay the distance. And I see in the local cattle mart here, the auctioneers and all make sure that everything is possibly done. And I think that people, if there was an agreement done and a good solemn old deal done, and everyone in on it, I think none of us would object. We'd have done the very best we could. I think it would have been a better way to go, because it's actually working in some things. Now, you see it in shops, there are only 2 in at a time and all that. Now, there was a great plague in England. There was a great famine in Ireland, and some perished in it, and some actually prospered. And the thing people don't know was the Vikings had a colony in Greenland, and they were living on farming, and it died out about 1480 around there, but it died out. But one of the things, the plague never got to Greenland, but the plague got to Denmark. And there was shipping between Greenland and Denmark. There was a constant dropping in of a ship and a going off of a ship, and it was possible for someone to go back to Denmark and come over and back. And Denmark kept a wee interest there for various reasons. But the ship stopped due to the plague. So although the plague never got to Greenland, it impacted Greenland and brought the Viking colony to an end in that place. Okay, so it just shows you it actually brought that colony down. Now there were other issues, and they may have come down anyway. But having no contact with the mainland is a very difficult position. Now we know the EU is incompetent. Ireland is given a 3 million. Ireland is getting a gift of 3 million to help us over, and we're paying Ireland is getting 3 billion, billion euros. It's paying 16 billion euros. Sorry for saying million, billion euros. Italy is actually paying in more than they're getting out. So it seems the EU has the hand out to grab whatever's going, and it didn't give any leadership. It wasn't up to the job here at all. It wasn't simply up to the job. I mean, no country, let it be the United States or anywhere else, no country was as feeble as the EU. It was the national governments that acted and acted in their own defence. Now, it was a black swan, and I have been, in my lifetime, I've often had a wish list. I did not want to see the domination by the Catholic Church. I didn't want to see them destroyed, but I wanted their wings clipped. I did not want to see communist dictatorships, as in Cuba, as in China, and as in East Germany, and the Soviet Union. I wanted to see them gone. And I wanted to see Germany united and Ireland united, which is only normal for an Irishman. It's amazing how many of those I actually got. It's amazing how many of those actually have come to pass. And I'd hate to think that that I want also to see the green lie, the lie of the Green Party and the whole green climate change renewable energy scam exposed. I'm working very hard for that for 10 years. And so stopping the illegal waste. I mean, the whole thing of the energy is not assessed under the Aarhus Convention or the SCA Directive and all that. It's just spend, throw all away. And so it was going to collapse anyway. The economies were going to collapse. But at the same time, this has been, in a way, the answer to my prayers, that something comes along which takes the money away from them, that they do not be able to squander anymore. It's unfortunate that we have to see this happening, because people vote for the Greens, people vote for all these parties, and there is still a strong rump of people who want this waste going on, and all we can do is protest. They're still there. They're going to get a bit of a hop in my opinion. So I hope the Irish people will get a shock. It's unfortunate that there has to be so much suffering. And in the end of the day, it's only money. If you and I and our loved ones survive it, we can live to fight another day. Wealth isn't everything. It's better that than be dead. And it's better that than go through 2 months and the absolute horror of what could be to come. I mean, although I have help and I can get help and contractors and all that, still, if I were to be laid up for 2 months, I'd have to sell cattle and everything. I'd have to get someone in and do it. It would be a blooming nightmare. And you have to disinfect the cards and everything. Like, it would be a nightmare. So we don't want it. But so it's the baby of Fianna Fáil who are doing this destruction. It's the baby of Fine Gael. It's the baby of Sinn Féin and the rest of them. So now it's up to the voters. So what COVID-19, in my view, has done is it has blocked their dreams. It has blocked their waste squandering dreams. And it'll be up to the Irish voters then to see what they can learn from it. Now, just to finish off, I'm saying here this is a real virus. I'm saying, giving you my assessment of it. It won't be agreed by many. But just to finish off, over on the North Sentinel Island, excuse me, and I did a video on that. Please look at it. It got over 300 views. Over on the North Sentinel Island in the Bay of Bengal, there was a tsunami there on the 26th of December 2004. Most of you will remember it. Now, they met visitors in 2019, and they must have been infected by disease, for they never let anyone up again. They killed 3 people who tried to come in on the island, and the Indian government allows them to live there in peace. But the point is, when the helicopter went to check in 2004 how the tsunami affected this island, only I think it's only 3 miles by 4 miles, or that size about, they found they didn't give a damn. They knew the tsunami was coming. The animals warned them. They knew by the local signs, and they had no problem whatsoever. It didn't bother them, and they're not bothered about this. And it's just something to put a reference frame in, that there are people who this does not affect at all, because they have nothing to do with us or our society. I just throw that in there for what it's worth. So that's the end of the video, folks. That's my assessment. It will not make a lot of people happy. And I know that eventually I'd like to see testing. Why is there no testing? Why isn't everyone tested? Even if I had to pay 50 euros or even 100 to be tested, I think I'd go for it if that test is available. Now, there's other people who tells me there's no test, there's no COVID-19, there's no this and there's no that. There's something. There is something there. And I think that if we were tested, we could find that many of us already have it. In fact, I could find that I already had it, maybe back 6 months ago, and that I have immunity, and we don't know about that either. I mean, it's a pity there isn't a test, even a private test that you could take, and that's very strange. I find that very, very strange, that there isn't more testing going on. In any event, that's my make on it. Not going to make anyone happy, but I said in the very beginning of my series, it's all about how you count, how counting it, and how you figure out what you have to deal with, what the effects of it are going to be, and what's the best way to tackle it. And doing that with the way we're fixed up in this country and the government we have, and some of the crazy things they're doing, is not easy to do, but I have done my best. In the next time now, we're going to come back and we're going to have a bit of a look at how this, what I believe is a black swan economically, is impacting and is going to impact on our economy and our lives. And I hate being pessimistic, but I am very pessimistic. So that's it, folks. We'll see you back. Give it a thumbs up if you think I made the best effort I could. I'll give it a thumbs down if you don't like it. I know people don't like to stay in 25 minutes, but this is the most biggest event to happen in the lifetime of many people, and if it's not worth 25 minutes to hear what Val thinks about it, well, that's all right, but I think it is. It's a view, and I will take other views into account. And my opinion here is formed by listening to other people in addition to my own. So we'll see you back, and bye for that, and thank you very much. Bye.